The movie begins in Red Creek, Utah, 1876. A prospector named Otis is digging in an abandoned mine, begging the barren ground to give him just a little more gold. His final strike opens up a large fiery hole and everything around him begins to shake. He goes over to check, but his glove catches on fire, causing him to stomp it out. A large evil soul flies into his mouth, causing him to levitate, and a large ringed snake to appear on his chest painfully. Fully possessed, he stands up with blackened eyes. 1 month later, Sheriff Roy is meeting his daughter Charlotte, who has come to town for her wedding. Roy isn't so pleased to see her fiancé Angus, not thinking him man enough for his daughter, but Charlotte reassures him that he is a good man that makes her happy. Gunshots begin to ring out as the Samuels brothers ride onto the platform, grabbing people and taking them captive. Roy leads Charlotte into a store, giving her a gun and telling her to shoot anything that comes through the doors. She begs him to save Angus as he steps out to engage the bandits. He takes cover and begins to land his shots, but the brothers are not falling down. Another bandit rides up behind him, but Roy shoots him off his horse. Roy is then shot from behind and is suddenly transported into a large white room. He throws up as the smiling woman in front of him welcomes him to the R.I.P.D headquarters. She introduces herself as Hano, a captain of the Western Division of God's own police force. She explains that they hunt evil souls called deados and send them back to hell, but Roy is having a hard time processing all this. They ascend a stairs where other souls are ascending until they end up in an armory with different weapons. Roy spots a sweet gun but tells Hano that nothing comes between him and Susie, his gun. Hano explains that his gun is now useless and that her guns can actually kill evil souls. Roy spots a large snake eating its own tail, and Hano explains that the symbol is engraved on every possessed person's chest. She tells him that recently there was a hellish discharge in his town, to which Roy says he knows a good remedy for something like that. She needs him to investigate the portal opening and brands Roy with the R.I.P.D badge. She sends him into a machine and he ends up back on Earth inside a doo-doo house in a new suit. After being assaulted by a bison, a woman on a horse approaches him bringing an extra horse. She introduces herself as Jean. As they ride, she explains that she was put in charge of him, but Roy says he does not need a babysitter as he has been doing this for many years. Jean explains that she has been dead for 445 years, but Roy tells her to stop womansplaining and rides off. On the other side of town, the Samuels brothers enter a bank and begin rounding up people once more. They are interrupted by the U.S. Marshals and a gunfight breaks out. Roy rides to his house where he sees Charlotte sitting alone crying. He is about to say something to her when Jean pulls him away. She drags him into the woods and throws Roy down when he tries to leave again. The two begin to fight and Roy realizes that he is now much faster than when he was alive. Roy goes on the attack and the two battle until they end up in a stalemate. Jean shows him that he is no longer Roy and brings him to show him his grave. Roy sees that his avatar is a black woman and wonders why the R.I.P.D would make his job much harder. Jean adds that if he tries to talk to anyone he loves, the words would come out as rubbish. As they talk, they are approached by Roy's friend Henry. Jeannie introduces herself as Matilda and Roy as Mabel. Henry expresses that Roy was arrogant and thought he had all the answers, but there was nobody else you would rather have by your side, especially now that evil like the Samuels brothers are back. Henry explains that they kidnapped Angus, but 3 of the 5 were caught and on their way to be hanged. Roy wants to go save Angus and Jean tries to stop him, telling him that the world is more important than saving one man. Roy tells her that he must save Angus and knows the route the marshals will take. Roy and Jean spot the marshals bringing the men and tell Jean about how one night the brothers suddenly changed. He is surprised that there are 5 as he is sure that he shot one off his horseback at the train station. Roy and Jean spot one of the men with the snake symbol on his chest and realize that the brothers are possessed by spirits. Jean steps out into the clearing, telling the marshals that her sister has been hurt and begging for help. She offers them silver and they follow her to see Roy. The two then knock out the marshals and attack the others. The marshals try to ride off, but Roy hangs onto the back and climbs on top but is met by a well-placed shot. One of the men goes over to check, but Roy scares him, causing him to run off. After tying up the marshals, Roy is unable to open the lock to the cage, so Jean decides to summon the spirit out of the man. She splashes some holy water on him and the man begins to twist in pain. A large hole appears on his chest and black tendrils shoot out and begin to fill up the cage, ripping it open. Roy then shoots it, causing it to collapse in on itself. Jean takes down the other deado before taking the other bandit, Slim, hostage. Roy then sees a wanted poster implicating Slim as his killer and wants to kill him, but Jean stops him, telling him about the mission. They want to know where the kidnapped people are, but Slim won't talk, so Jean uses the water on Slim and the hole appears in his chest. He yells that he will talk and Jean closes the hole with a crucifix. Slim explains that there is a very powerful deado named Otis, who forced him to possess this body and to round up humans, taking them to Red Creek. He has something big planned for the kidnapped people and also has access to an R.I.P.D gun. Back in Red Creek, a woman comes to report to Otis, telling him that the Samuels crew are having doubts about Otis and who he claims to be. Otis explains that as one of the big 3 in hell, He had access to all of the underworld, and was able to break free when a part of the gateway grew weak. He adds that at midnight there will be a blood moon which will weaken the entire gate and he will execute his plan then. He got tired of fighting for control in hell, and decided that he wanted to take control of his own dominion on earth. He then decides to show the others his power. Otis and the woman head over to a nearby church where the brothers have captured a congregation of people. The Samuels gang leader tells Otis that he and his men are done as the R.I.P.D are on their trail. Otis then pulls the demon out of the leader and then shoots it with an R.I.P.D gun. He orders others to take the captured people to his hideout. Roy and Gene lead the chatty Slim to Red Creek and shoots him over and over with the normal gun out of frustration when he won't shut up. As they ride they see the red moon. Gene explains that this signifies the end of times in the Bible, and Slim warns them that they should turn back. Roy throws a hood over Slim's face and they ride into town where they realize that the townsfolk are acting weird. They head into a nearby hotel where they meet the owner Julius. He wants them to leave as it is the 1800s. They force him to burn it because Black Lives Matter apparently, and Julius gets his help to show them to their rooms. They ask the help of the residents of the town and she tells them that they started to disappear about a month ago when rumors of gold in the mine started to go around. In a cave nearby, the townsfolk are all rounded up wearing strange masks. One woman wants to take off hers but Angus stops her, telling that if she does she will die. He then takes off his own mask just to prove the point, revealing that there is something in the air. Back in the hotel, Julius coughs up blood. He makes his way to Otis and begs him for one of the masks, but Otis tells him that the masks are for the workers only, as the air from the portal is toxic. Julius tells them about the two ladies back at the hotel and tells them to take them too, but he does not want to die. Otis tells him that death is the beginning of a whole new life and hands him a mask, planning to put him to work too. At the hotel, Roy and Gene plan to head to the mine and want to leave Slim tied up. He steals Roy's gun but hands it back to him, saying that he can be trusted and wants to help them. Roy wonders if maybe Slim could be good after all, but Gene tells him that the demon is just playing him. The two head into town to see the destroyed church and hear Julius screaming nearby. He tells them that Otis plans to open a gateway on top of the mountain. Gene figures out that Otis plans to use the humans to dig the hole open and release more spirits into the world. Roy and Gene are then attacked by the Samuels gang, and they fight them off until Roy and Gene are captured. In the hotel, the help is looking for Julius when she comes across his open desk drawer. She looks around and finds a confession note of Julius confessing to killing Roy. The help then goes up to Roy's room and finds Slim tied up. She frees him and shows him the note, remembering that Roy brought him in for the same crime. She begins to cough up blood and Slim hands her a mask before leaving. Back at the cave, the woman comes to check on the captured R.I.P.D officers and recognizes Gene. Gene explains that she is called Nell, and was a former R.I.P.D officer who robbed the armory and fled. Angus tries to put up a fight but gets beaten and thrown back in jail. Roy realizes that it is Angus and the two talk. At midnight, Otis realizes that the gate is weakened, so he orders all the prisoners to start digging. He and Nell go to visit Roy and Gene. Otis tells them that he plans on turning Earth into the 10th circle of hell. Otis heads back outside where the residents have finally opened the portal to hell. Evil souls begin to escape and possess the residents. Inside the prison, Gene tells Roy that she knows of a way to close the portal and shows him the tears of Christ. Slim then staggers into the cave acting drunk. He grabs Roy's gun and kills the guards, freeing Roy and Gene. Angus then realizes that the evil spirits are possessing people who look into their eyes and tries to warn the others. Gene gives Roy the tears and tells him to end this but says that she will not come as she has a fear of fire, but Roy leaves the tears behind, telling her that this is her moment. Roy and Slim head out and begin to shoot at the evil spirits with R.I.P.D guns, sending them back to hell. Roy then plans to go hunt for Otis but is attacked by another possessed who knocks his guns away. The demon holds Roy over the gate to hell, but Gene shows up and throws the tears into the portal, causing it to pull the demons back in and close the gateway. Otis and Gene think they have won, but Otis steps out. He transforms into his true form as Astaroth, the second to the devil himself. He begins to attack Roy and Gene. The two try to fight back but are captured by spirits that Astaroth controls. Gene uses a crucifix to free herself and Roy, but end up being captured. Roy pours the tears of Christ onto his gun and shoots Astaroth, causing him to implode. The next morning, all the townsfolk are reunited. Roy has Julius confess of his crime of shooting Roy. He thought that he was shooting one of the Samuels men and Roy has him taken away. A few days later, Angus and Charlotte are married. Roy congratulates them before leaving with Gene. They talk and Roy is ready to give up this job, but Gene tells him that he has to serve a minimum of 100 years before he can be free. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.